What's up? So here we are with another day in the garage. We got a few things in store. We finally have my Genesis already in the garage. I cleaned everything out and was able to get it fit in. We got a few things coming in during these time errors. We have a new clutch coming in, some motor mounts to replace the motor mounts we have on here. I believe these are actually worn out and they need to be replaced. So we're going to take a look at them, but we're going to place them anyways just to put fresh ones in. Because these motor mounts have been removed, modded, but they were original since 100 and some thousand miles, so they're definitely ready to replace. We're gonna go over the whole car, give it the final shebang to look over, and hopefully everything is all good to go once it leaves these doors. So right now we don't have really much going on. I started taking apart the intake and the turbo manifold, just to see what's going on with the turbo. Want to check it and make sure there's no leaking. I do have an oil leak that I'm looking to find. So once we start figuring out taking things apart, of course we will know what we have to replace. So I haven't ordered anything for that part yet, because we're just trying to find out what the actual issue is. The motor has 100,000 miles on it, over 100,000 of straight abuse. At least that's 70 when I purchased it. So it definitely needs some loving, and this is the time to give it to him. This old girl. What's up? So here we are. This is the second day. Yesterday I just took the time to take a few things apart. It is today's Friday. Starting of this whole coronavirus thing. But here we are. We finally got my clutch in. It's in this box over here. I haven't even opened it yet. I'm not too sure what the plans are. I just noticed that yesterday that I didn't order the wrong clutch, but I need the correct flywheel to install this clutch. So we have one issue. I have to reorder the flywheel, which is not a big deal. So we have a little bit of standby for this video. It's going to be a couple videos all in one. Just because I can't do all this stuff in one day. But here we have the clutch. I ordered motor mounts. We're going to do this whole thing in fresh over. So as I said a couple minutes ago, serpentine belt. I got to redo the exhaust. I'm going to do some other things. I had an issue with vibrating, and of course I haven't used the correct lock nuts and stuff like that, so I ordered all that. That's perfect. I still have to weld my harness bar for my harness in the seat. So there's going to be a lot of things that's going to be working on in one main thing. So the one thing I wanted to do was just pretty much take my car off the road. Doing that is just so I'm not just, trying to rush and get back into driving the car. Like, everybody knows how it feels when, you just put one nice thing on the car and you just want to drive it. So sorry for the wind. But the plan is to put everything on one time. Hopefully everything's working. Get everything, take my time with. Don't rush. I'm big with not rushing when it. Alright, so here we are. We got the turbo out. We have it sitting over the side. So I actually found the issue to the reason why I took it out. So I thought the actual seals were blown because I was looking at the play. I was actually incorrect. Shout out to Arashi for the turbos. They actually have good customer service. I emailed them saying that I thought there was an issue. I wasn't expecting them to have a warranty for me, but I wanted to see if there was any parts or something that they hooked me up to, and they responded in less than 2 or 3 days. So that's the reason why I took it out, to see if I could email them back confirming what the issue was. So shout out to them. The issue was that this bolt, there's 2 bolts that go to the oil drain, and it actually, one of them was loosened and actually caused this to slide over and was leaking oil. So now what we have to do is just replace the gasket, put the bolts in, and everything should be set to go. Alright, so here we are. We got a few days left to go. I ordered the clutch we have in this box right here. I had to order the flywheel, but with the whole things going on right now, shipping is a little slowed down, so we have things to worry about right now. We have to remove the transmission. To do that, we got to take the dry shaft out. We got to disconnect the exhaust by taking the bolts out. Of course, take the O2 sensor out that's connected to the exhaust. I already had removed the turbo, as we've seen, so now it's just pretty much just doing everything from down here. I marked the drive shaft just so I can put it back exactly where it's at. I have to slide out the transmission to get to the top bolts, but once we do that, I have to wait till the flywheel comes in. So we're kind of at a slow halt until we get that in. Of course, we ordered some parts, some new motor mounts and stuff like that, but of course they came in incorrected, so of course that has to be shipped back. Alright, so we just got the transmission out. Here we go. We got the dry shaft out. You can see it right here behind me. So we got marked everything just so when we go put it back together, everything's easy to set up to get everything going. So this way we have no issues with vibration and stuff like that. So the next thing is we have to do is we have to dislocate the shifter. The actual bracket. There's 2 pins and the actual the shifter itself. It's just from under before the transmission. What else we have to do? Disconnect the camshaft sensor and also the slave cylinder. So once we do those 3, we should be good to go. And then it's easy as pretty much putting some little weight under with the jack, lift it up, unloose a few bolts, lower back down, get the other bolts, and it should just be able to slide back off, just so we can get to the clutch. We're taking our time. This is over a 4 or 5 day process. It's easy enough to get done in a weekend or so, or even a day, but I'm in no rush. Taking my time, seeing what else things that need to be done. Looking for the drive shaft itself, worn out. So I might go ahead and replace these. This is very cheap. They're about $20–$30 or so. So I might go ahead and do that. Alright, so today is day 3 of what we do, a whole refresher. So what we have going on, we're replacing the transmission. We got a few parts right below us, which I'll show you in a second, of what we're doing in the trans. We're replacing the flywheel, the clutch plate, and the pressure plate. In doing so, we have to remove plenty of parts, as I showed you in the last few seconds. Dropping the drive shaft, disconnecting other pieces, so forth. Before, I also took out the turbo and the manifold. It's definitely an extra step that you do not have to do when taking out the transmission. But the reason why I was doing that, because I was covering other issues that I had, which was oil leaks, which was coming from the drain plug. So for now, what we have going on, I pretty much have everything unbolted for the trans. The reason why I can't videotape much is because there's not much access to get clear video footage to see exactly what's going on. So it's very simple, very self-forward. You drop the drive shaft. There's a few pins that we have to take out, safety pins. They're not too terrible. The one thing I would recommend if you're doing this by yourself, the one thing that you would need is definitely ratchet wrenches and picks. Other than that, it's very simple. 19, 17, a 14, a 12, and a 10. So right now, let's get to it. I'll show you what we have here. So here we have in front of us, we have a 6-puck clutch. I went with a stage 3. The reason why I went with a stage 3, just because I wanted to get it over with. I'm not looking forward to remove my transmission in the future. So hopefully, going to the track once or twice, 3 times in a year, it should hold up for most part, unless there's a mechanical failure, of course. So we have this. We went with a Spec, stage 3 6-puck. The part number SY003-2. This was actually used, but it had a brand new clutch plate. I went with this because it was a lot cheaper of a price. I got a good offer on it, so I went ahead and snagged it. I actually wanted a ACT clutch, but for the price, I couldn't go wrong with this. And here we have, this is the Spec flywheel. Now with specs, you got to make sure that you can't just use any flywheel accordingly to most clutches. Most clutches are universal to an aftermarket flywheel, but Spec only makes their flywheels and clutches compared to themselves. So I had to learn that. So you definitely don't want to make that mistake. So I just went ahead and purchased this. This is a steel flywheel. I wanted to go with aluminum, but again, I felt like there'd be more issues with it being too light. I didn't hear much reviews on having the aluminum, so I just stuck with the steel. It's a little heavier, but I can't complain. It looks nice. It's billet steel, and the part number for this one is SY00S-2. So that's the part number for the flywheel, and then the part number for the clutch plate and the pressure plate. One thing I did notice with this kit, with it being used, it does seem to come with the pilot bearing. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is the pilot bearing. But the actual flywheel comes with the pilot bearing also in it. So I don't think that's necessary, but I mean, maybe for the future or so, it's good to have. Alright, so here we go. We're able to get the transmission finally out. So the first thing we gotta do, we gotta clean this whole thing up. There's a lot of grease and gunk all over it. As you can see, I have to replace the throwout bearing, the slate cylinder. All this has to come out. Pretty much clean the whole inside and get this thing all shinied up. There was a few issues that took a little bit. I had to remove the whole sway bar, which is under there. You can see it under the chair right there. I had to remove the whole sway bar just because most cars you could just loosen the 4 bolts holding the sway bar in the middle by the bushings, but the problem is my car was so low that the actual end links, which are right here, my end links were actually maxed out, so I actually had to loosen up the whole thing and take it out to remove the transmission. With that being said, so we got a few parts which are over here, as we showed before. We got the clutch plate, the pressure plate, and we got the flywheel over there. I had to get a few stuff to pump the oil into the trans. Brake cleaner, a little car cleaner. We're going to see how this, it says parts cleaner at the bottom, so we're going to see how this works. It was a little bit more money, but it's worth it. I got some more brake cleaner somewhere around here. Loctite, of course, for all the bolts going into the flywheel. You want all the bolts for the flywheel and the pressure plate want to be Loctited. Also the bolts for the transmission, all the bolts going back and forth that are going to be going to the drive shaft, and everything has to be Loctite. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and get this thing going. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up for today's video. So as you can see, we got everything pulled out, everything sorted out what needs to be done. Taking my time, like I said before, I'm just trying to go through every little thing. As you can see in the video, I'll point it out. The tire ends are a little blown out, so I'm going ahead and replace those. Get aftermarket Mega Racing ones, I believe. I'm gonna order those up. I got a serpentine belt, other parts. Like I said, the slate cylinder just got here. There's a crack on my intercooler pipe that, not the pipe, the bracket has to be welded up. So we're gonna see if we can get that taken care of. So we're just taking step by step, day by day. We're not in a rush to get this car back on the road. As you can tell with this whole quarantine thing, there's no rush. So I'd rather take my time, do it right. You know, it gives me something to do during these times. And then hopefully we can get this thing ready to be dropped off at the dyno. So stay tuned for the next video. This is going to be part 1 of pulling up the transmission. Just because there's not really much videoing going on, but I just want to keep everything updated. The next video is going to be more footage, more content. Pretty much cleaning everything up, you know, installing everything on the engine, the flywheel, the clutch, press plate, all that, the whole thing, greasing everything down, you know, putting everything back together how it should be. So stay tuned, comment, like, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.